Thank you for joining us and welcome to episode number 9 of this series. My name is Benjamin Brain, I'll be your host for the next 60 minutes or so, and this is the truth about business. Welcome to the Truth About Business, where it's my mission to seek out real-life business champions and explore and share their challenges, setbacks, failures and triumphs to serve as inspiration, motivation and help other like-minded business people and entrepreneurs like us to fast-track our own success. In this week's episode, I talk business with Owen Conti. Owen is the Derby entrepreneur and businessman behind IT services provider Code 56. Owen's ethos is that IT is not just about technical equipment. Like much of business, it's about solving problems, and he believes big things can happen when business owners start to realise that technology should be viewed as a force multiplier rather than a necessary evil. As well as being awarded the Marketing Derby Rising Star for 2018, Code 56 is also a UK Small Biz 100 in this year's nationwide celebration of small businesses. Now, amongst many other things in this episode, you'll discover, number 1, why growing as quickly as possible is not always the best option for new businesses. Number 2, the common mistake that businesses of all sizes make when it comes to their IT. And number 3, why it's important to strive for your definition of success rather than everybody else's. And there is so much more. To find out more about Owen and the team, you can visit the site at www.code56.co.uk. Or you can find Owen on LinkedIn at Owen Conti, spelt O-W-E-N-C-O-N-T-I. This was another brilliant interview with yet another inspirational business champion that I thoroughly enjoyed, and I hope you do too. You know, success leaves footprints, so let's take a walk with IT whiz and incredibly astute businessman, Owen Conti. Owen, welcome to the Truth About Business, and thank you for joining us on the podcast today.
You're right there, Ben. Cheers for having me.
So, for the audience that might not know about you and Code 56, can you give a bit of an overview of what you guys are all about?
Yeah, so basically we look after technology for other businesses. We act like a bolt-on IT department for them, and I mean that at all levels. So we'll sit down with their directors and their leadership team and talk about where they want their business to go, get an idea about their business plan, their business goals. Not to be nosy, but more so that we know what they're trying to achieve, so that when we're looking at the technology and the nuts and bolts of things, we're making recommendations that kind of help them on that journey. And if we can find some stuff to help them get there quicker or more efficiently or make less errors while they're trying to do that, and then right through to the implementation of some of those projects, a bit of project management, and the oh no moments, like when the laptop stops working, we can jump in and do the day-to-day IT support as well.
Can you give us a bit of a summary of your career from the very start leading up to the launch of Code 56?
I started a retail job back when I was like 15. I did a work experience week, and like all the kids in my school were like, I'm going to go spend a week with solicitors and stuff. And I was like, I honestly don't know what I want to do. So I'm going to use this week to get myself a job. And that was my outset. I was applying to restaurants to be like a waiter. And they were telling me no because you had to be 18. And I got a job in a music shop. It was a V shop, I think it was called at the time. Became Virgin Megastore Express and then shut down. But I went with that week like, this is a week-long interview. Like I wasn't there for work experience. I was there to go, I want a job. Long story short, got a job at the end of the week and ended up working in retail, left school at AS levels. The Virgin Megastore Express had closed, so I'd ended up working at a caravan centre, selling accessories and parts and stuff like that, and just realised one day that was not where I wanted my life to go. And this was back when like the paper was still the thing to look into for jobs and stuff. Saw an advert for an IT course, like, do you want to earn £35,000 a year? And this was like 2003, 2004, something like that. I'm like, hell yeah. So went into that. It was like a private training company. You kind of bought the course, paid for it. So I got a loan out and stuff like that. Took my sweet time doing the course, and that company actually went bust. But by the time they went bust, I had managed to get myself into an IT role and never looked back, really. I was first IT job. I was doing technical support for a company that do banking and finance compliance and risk management software. So I ended up finding myself there as the lead for the fraud detection software implementation team. which would see me dealing with banks and building societies and kind of talking with the technical team about where are we going to put this solution, and then literally crossing the corridor and talking to the business team about trying to figure out what they were trying to find and how we could present that to them and make it useful, make this information that we can get for them meaningful. And then bounced around a little bit in IT. It's kind of pretty common nowadays for IT people to move around. You kind of get assigned to a big shiny project, you do the project, and then you drop onto maintenance and it gets a bit boring. And then the opportunity came to set up Code 56, and I just kind of snatched it with both hands and thought, yeah, I can do this.
So when you were working at the caravan place and you saw that initial advert for the IT specialist,
Yep.
Had you any experience with the sort of IT world before that? Was it something that you thought that you would be good at, or was it more the money was the motivator for that one initially?
So looking at the advert, it was definitely the money motivator. I'd never done any formal IT training at school or when I was younger. Before then, really, I don't think I'd ever really taken a computer to pieces in any sort of structured way. I remember as a kid being in IT classes where we got to take a floppy disk apart and stuff like that. And I guess I've always tinkered with things. But getting on the course, it was kind of the problem-solving aspect of it that really hooked me. And I think it's that's kept me, if you like, because there's always a problem, whether we call it challenges because we want to be sales savvy, or we call it problems or issues, or it might not even be something somebody sees as a negative. They might be trying to set the world on fire with this new thing, and they've got the difficulties of getting that new thing out there and whatever. It's solving those problems that I find the most interesting.
When did you realise you had a passion for that sort of thing?
To be honest, I think it was probably after I'd landed my first IT job. Because, going into that, I was green. They took a big kind of jump. They were looking for somebody in junior. And again, I kind of applied that same mentality of when I did my work experience. I got the job and just powered down, foot to the floor. This is happening. I'm going to learn as much as I can. I'm going to do as much as I can. I'm going to get involved with everything that I possibly can. And it was a small business, so the opportunity was there. If I wanted to do something and it made sense from a business point of view, I was allowed to do it. So very quickly, I went from no formal education to managing 3 different sites. Okay, sounds really grand. They were small in the great comparison of things. But within a year, I was managing these servers. I was looking after the updates. I was looking after websites. I was doing a lot of stuff that people with the same amount of time in an IT role just never would have had the opportunity to do. So it's that kind of, I guess that kind of tenacity there came out, and it was like, right, that's it. This is what's happening. And actually, a bit braggy, but I'm good at this. I seem to have a knack for it. How far can I take it?
And that tenacity that you've talked about, obviously it's been there from an early age. You said earlier when everybody else was looking for a placement rather than a job, you were out there treating that week as, proper interview practice and actually looking to land a real job. Where does that come from? Is that something that has been sort of passed down from your parents or from people that you've looked up to? Maybe
not my parents, but maybe my grandfather. Grandpa Joe was determined. He, classic immigrant story. He moved to the States with the whole $2 in his pocket kind of thing and ended up with quite a nice life. I think generally I've got a bit of a rebellious streak. So if I get told something's impossible, or if somebody tells me I can't do something, or if I got just a bit of a chip on my shoulder, I'm just going for it. And it's not so much I've got anything to prove to anybody else, but it's myself, I remember as a kid being poor, mum working like 2 or 3 jobs, kind of macaroni and cheese for a week kind of thing. Back in the States, it comes out of cardboard boxes. It's not very nice. And I kind of talk about it with my wife, like pork and beans kind of poor. Like you've only got a tin of pork and beans, some hot dogs to last you to the end of the month kind of thing. And my life's not, I'm not going to have that as my life. That's not the future I want. And I can do something about that. That's where it's coming from. I don't think anybody put it there, but I think back and then I don't want to be living hand to mouth ever again. And this is a way to not do that. From those younger days, particularly at the time when you were looking for the work experience placement, did you have aspirations of being a business owner then? Obviously, you've talked about Grandpa Joe moved over to America. No, I don't think it was actually. I think once I'd landed my IT job and I got a few years of experience, that's when I kind of started to think, why am I making money for other people? Kind of fell into that classic trap, the book that E-Myth talks about, where you think, I'm good at this. Why am I making him money? I can go make my own money. And then you realize just quite how hard it is. But it wasn't there when I was sort of 15, 16. I just wanted my own money. I wanted to carve out my own independence. there's that rebellious streak kind of flaring up again. I was going to move out. I was going to do my thing, and no one was going to stop me but me, if that made sense.
And was there a trigger moment that you can remember that really set off the thought that, right, I am going to start my own business now. This is going to be me. I'm going to be my own boss.
Long story short, I've got 2 business partners who are shareholder investors. One of those business partners, I started working for him under a different company back when I was an employee. And he made it known to me that he wanted me to work with him. And, while I go off and do my other bits and pieces, in the background we keep in touch. And he keeps saying, come work for me. And I keep kind of batting it away and kind of playing it down. We were at a surprise wedding, of all things. And we started having a bit of a chat while we were both a bit squiffy. And he was saying, why won't you come work for me? And at the time he had like 12 members of staff. And I said to him, look, I'd come, I'd get bored. He said to me, I don't care. I'll pay you what you're on now. You can sit there and do nothing, because if you're sat there doing nothing, it means I don't have any problems. And I'll be honest with you, knowing him, he was 100% serious. I could have walked away from my job and just sat there 9 to 5, made sure that this company was absolutely fine for their tech, and milked it, and basically taken the piss out of him. And I couldn't do that. I said to him, no, that's not what I want. I'd get bored and I'd end up leaving. Give me 3-6 months and then I'd be bouncing around again. So he said, okay, what's your dream? And I said to him, I want to, for my whole career, I've wanted to build a team. And it's always been the carrot that's been dangled in the small business space, and it's never materialized. So, I've kind of got this pipe dream of running my own thing and building up a team. And he went, okay, let's have a conversation about that. So bear in mind, we're a bit drunk at this time. So we make some plans, we have some conversations, we get the third person involved, and Code 56 comes up to the point where I'm able to walk out of my job into a new one, running a company with 2 customers who are shareholders from day one with plenty of work for the first year. I mean, who gets that opportunity? Listening to the podcast, I'm listening to 7 other people tell me their stories, and it's like, I got introduced to this in an easy way. My day one, while it was terrifying, was actually quite easy compared to other people who've just walked out of a job and gone, nah, screw this, I'm going to do it myself. And yeah, there's different challenges, there's different headaches that come with having investors and things like that. But it was a no-brainer, Here's the opportunity on the table to put my money where my mouth is almost, but do it in a way that exposes me personally to less risk. Why wouldn't I have taken it?
Yeah, I think it's easy for you to say that, I had an easier start compared to the other people that have been on the podcast so far, but you put yourself in that position to have that opportunity. That work ethic that you've had since you were young, those hours that you'd put into the businesses you were in up to that point has all led to that final moment of the investor coming to you and saying, I want to work with you. Because if you weren't very good at what you do, if you hadn't put those hours in, then you wouldn't have been presented with that opportunity. So I think it's easy to put yourself down on that without actually looking at the whole journey. And
I think you are right, and he was definitely the catalyst. And I do genuinely think, as it's happened now, it wouldn't have happened without him. But yeah, you're right. One thing I say is luck doesn't exist. Luck does not exist in business, right? You might hear this story and go, oh shit, you're lucky for meeting that guy. But you're absolutely right. It's about, I did the best I could in front of him. He saw something and wanted to be a part of it. So he's created an opportunity, and then together we've capitalized on that opportunity. You hear stories of people who started up farm businesses, they meet somebody in the pub, and then suddenly 5 years later they're £1 million turnover or whatever because of a conversation in the pub. It's not luck. It's because during that conversation he's got his mind switched on and he's looking for opportunities. Yeah, bold claim, luck does not exist.
Okay, we like it. Some bold claims on the truth about business. I can already see the title for this podcast now. So can you give us a bit of a summary then between you and your business partner making that decision that you are going to start up as a business and the sort of time frame and the challenges you faced up to day one of launching Code 56?
Okay, so it all happened pretty quickly. And 2016 was a crazy year. So I got married in June. We were looking in for houses as we're waiting for the transfer coming back from our honeymoon, and ended up actually booking the appointment to view the house that we ended up buying. Bought the house, started the business, left my job. So got married in June and started Code 56, started trading in October. So it was just, again, foot down, flat out, like 3 of the most stressful things you can do in the space of 6 months. And it was just go, 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 go. Everything had lined up and I was going for it.
And the service that you provide now as a business, has that changed much since those
absolutely.
first days?
Absolutely.
What were you looking to provide initially?
Kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier, hopefully you don't cut it now. Kind of started up as a technician. I know IT. I know my stuff. So here I am, one-man band, got 2 partners who need help, but also know that I can go out there and get other business.
How did you know that?
Because I'd done it before. Like, I'd worked for other companies that provide IT support. So, and I have friends who, I mean, in the first week, I picked up a couple of customers based on kind of people that I'd worked for before or done stuff with, who had now gone freelance and needed some help and things like that. So it's a case of, again, looking for those opportunities and kind of, and a bit of hustling, you know what I mean? There's that hustle, there's that, call it what you want. But there is that kind of going out there and getting involved and getting in part of the community. A lot of the early days, I was going to pretty much every single networking event I possibly could. I think people would have said I'd go to the opening of an envelope. I was at everything. I really was. And it was about, I knew no one in Derby when I started in October 2016. I live in Burton-on-Trent, knew nobody. So to go from that, I was like, right, I need to find out who are the key people around here. Who are they? How can I be helpful to them? And how can I be somebody that they want to be around? Because I think one of my personal kind of ethoses is hang out with people that inspire you and be somebody that they want to be around. Because if you're not useful or valuable to them, why would they want to be around you? And if you stick to that, you're constantly leveling up. There's a constant improvement that's going on. And that was, so day one, I'm a technician, I'm wearing my polo shirt. I've got my black trousers on, black shoes on, literally walked straight out of an IT job working for finance types and was like, cool, this is how we dress. This is how we do. And it was any and everything. If somebody needs a laptop setting up, we still help the one-man bands. We're not going to turn work away, but it doesn't mean that we have to go targeting that. And then over the last 3 years, it's been evolution after evolution. It's, stepping stones. I'm learning all the time. And frankly, that's my job now. My job is to keep learning, because if I get stale or stagnant, the business gets stale or stagnant. And on day one, you don't realize that there's all the lessons that you unwittingly signed up to learn, accounts, VAT, tax, all of this stuff. You think it's going to be nice and easy. And sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But yeah, it was a case of all the networking I could possibly go to and just picking up the little bits and pieces. I mean, installing antivirus on laptops was a job that we did. Made like £6 on that. But you do it to get the name out there, to get your profile starting to build, to get your reputation, to say, right, if I approach this little tiny job with such passion and enthusiasm, what do you think I'm going to be like when I get a bigger break? And, there is that adage, you don't know who people know. But I think now you do. Now I think about networking, and I think you have to be a little bit more strategic. And it can feel cold-hearted, and it can feel a bit snobby maybe, or a bit kind of brutal business. But you need your objective, and you need to go for it. And there are still some lovely people that I got to know through networking who I don't speak to so much now because I don't see them, and that is a shame. But if we weren't generating each other's outcomes, I'm not helping them, they're not helping me. So you kind of you take that step to the next stepping stone, and you find out where you can find and make those opportunities for one another. There's no good at being part of a network where I'm not being helpful, because if I can figure out how to be useful to somebody that I look up to, then one, they're going to want to keep me around. Two, I can learn all the lessons I possibly can from them, and three, it might be valuable for me. Don't. It's not all altruistic. There is a bit of how can I use this situation to help serve me? Don't misunderstand me. But the way I see it is, okay, I'm an unknown quantity. I'm going to have to give something before I could ever ask to receive something. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's that case of, right, put yourself out there. Some people will take advantage. A lot of people won't. And then you learn from it and you do it again. And you reiterate and you do it again and again. And you start to get to where you want to go.
Yeah, and if there's been one common theme throughout the podcast and the guests that I've had on so far, every single guest has been, at least at the very early stages, been an avid networker. And so do you think for yourself that all those hours that you put into going to networking meetings has paid off business-wise?
I think it's all helped build up a profile. And every single event that you go to, you see people. Sometimes it's just a case of somebody seeing you at an event 3 or 4 times, and then eventually something will happen a year later. So yeah, I think if I went back in time, would I do it any differently? Probably not, because there were lessons that I needed to learn and the way that I needed to learn them. Now, if I restarted, would I do it differently? Slightly. Yeah, I think I would. I think I'd start off with different groups, and I'd start off with different types of events, and I'd be a bit more pragmatic about, okay, where are the connections that I want to be making? What is really the objective of all of this? Is it profile? Is it trying to generate some business? Because there will be events where there are opportunities to discuss things in detail. There will be events where that is the last thing you can do. And sometimes you do have to talk about the weather. So I think I'd probably be a bit more choosy of how I'm spending my time, because you do need to balance. I mean, you could literally spend all day, every day at some sort of event and not get any billable work done. I'm not going to say that networking isn't work. It is. It's marketing at the end of the day, and that is an aspect of my job. So it is work. You do have to work at it. You have to put the game face on when you're having a shit day. You have to rein yourself in when you're feeling a bit cocky. You have to have some emotional intelligence there. What I would do now, and what I'm doing now, is looking at the events, looking at the time it's going to take, the people who are going to be there, whether or not they're on that path that we're on, whether we're going to have similar kind of customer bases or similar target markets, where there's a lot more opportunity, a lot more availability to create an opportunity. Because yeah, opportunities will drop in your lap every now and again, but it's the thing that gets me really excited is when you can sit down with somebody and you can talk about something and you actually create an opportunity. If there's not a door, kick a hole in the wall.
Going back to those earlier days then, just before you started Code 56, obviously you've talked about the fact that you had your 2 shareholders who had work ready for you. Did you have any doubts before going out there essentially on your own, or were you 100% confident from the word go?
I don't think doubts is the right word. I think I was nervous. And I remember those first 2 weeks being like, shit, I have got to bill so many hours because I've got to pay myself. We got a mortgage now. Some people call me an idiot for like, yeah, cool, I'm going to buy a house. And then like the next day, literally, it was it was the next day after the sale completed, I handed my notice in.
And did you find that by putting yourself in those circumstances, you have no option but to make it succeed? Did that add a level of motivation to you?
I think my motivation was already there, so I created the opportunity there where I couldn't, if you know what I mean. I think it was the other way around.
Okay.
I think it was a case of, I want to do this. This is happening. Screw it. I'm 100% in. And then the situation around you is just a mirror of that. It's not I'm going to jack my job in because then I have to go out and build. Because if that's what you need to get your motivation, I think you're doing it for the wrong reasons maybe.
And the name Code 56.
Yep.
Where does that come from?
The long story short is it boils down to not saying no. We had a project, customer wanted the moon on a stick. And he comes into my office and he's like, the first thing out of his mouth was, you can't say no. I'm like, Adam, come on, man. You know me better than that. What do they want? They want the moon on a stick. So we have a chat with them. We have that discussion to say, what is it you're actually looking for? Because, everybody comes to you first time round with like their own impression of what they want, whether it's with IT or I'm sure in your line of business. They have an impression of what it is they want to get out of it. And sometimes it's realistic, sometimes it's not, sometimes it's just clear as mud. So we did this whole chat with them, understood what they were looking for, put some stuff in. They found some fraud. They were over the moon because that's what they were looking for. Police get involved, case study. It's all great. So me and Adam are chatting afterwards, and he's like, we need a code word, because you can't be in a sales meeting or on a call and be like, don't say no. So that's where this kind of idea came around. We were shooting ideas around. In Wingdings for some inspiration, in Wingdings 2, if you type no in lowercase, you get a 5 and a 6 in circles, which is where the circles and the logo come from.
Very cryptic. And
it was kind of no. And it was this idea of, we're not going to say no. What's the problem? Let's find a solution. Let's find a way around it. If you tell me right now you want to go to the moon, okay, cool. How serious are you about it? What sacrifices are you going to make? Who do we need to get you in touch with? How are we going to make this happen? If you are serious about something, then it's my job to enable you to make that happen, whatever it is. That's the ethos of Code 56.
Wow.
Plus, I bought the domain name for a crap joke I never made, and the story just kind of really resonated with my shareholders. So we went for it. Let's build a brand around that, and then let's see where the future goes.
And do you feel that that's important to you, that the name actually means something to you? It doesn't matter what it necessarily means to the outside world, but
it gives me a great story that people ask about.
It works.
So I get to shoehorn that in everywhere. But yeah, it's kind of, it shows that it's not Owen's technical services. It's not just me. The idea is bigger than just that. And as the team grows, they've got a kind of an emblem to get behind. And then who knows what the future holds.
And what was the biggest challenge for you during those first 12 months of being in business as Code 56?
So the first 12 months was, in some respects, part of the steepest learning curve, because you've got all these lessons that you need to learn, and you need to learn them quick. You're sending out invoices, you're having to chase money, you're having to do the accounts, you're having to create nominal codes. You need to start breaking it down. You need to start defining everything to crazy levels so that it all gets filed right, and you don't end up fiddling when you that's not what you're trying to do. You're trying to do it all legitimately. There's the how do I pick up business? What are my core values? There's all of this stuff that you think you know, but then you start testing it and you don't know. You need to tweak, change, go again. Tweak, change, go again. It's that continuous improvement thing. And that's another piece that's really important to me, is that perfection does not exist. Another bold one for you. It doesn't. There's no such thing as perfect. You will never be perfect. So why kill yourself trying? Just get better every single time. You do a job, cool. What went well? What didn't go well? How can we do it better next time? And those first 12 months it was a baptism of fire, because, I had the work, but there's that chip on my shoulder that I don't want to be purely reliant on just my business partners. I need to prove that this can work on its own for myself. Screw what they think. They've got their objectives and stuff like that. But my objective was, this needs to be a viable solution without that. And again, knowing nobody in Derby, so you're carving out a profile, you're figuring out how the message that you speak resonates with your target market or doesn't resonate. And then you have to change it, you have to adapt it. You have to go again.
How many clients do you work with at the moment?
Total on the books over the last 3 years, probably 85, 90. A lot of those are one-man bands that we might never speak to again because we've solved the problem. So they don't really need us on a daily basis. I guess on a monthly basis, probably about 30 or 40 different customers for different things, different levels of what we do for them. Some who will just ring us when they need us. Some we're doing stuff every single month just as default for them. And they see us as part of their team, we're part of theirs. We're part of their team, they're part of our team. It's a case of, if they do well, we'll do well. And I want them to do well because I want to do well. So any little thing, like earlier today, I was talking to one of my customers. They're a steel fabrication outfit. They make like staircases and stuff like that. And speaking to another friend of mine who needs a ramp, so I passed your number on. And then also, actually, our structural engineer is any good for you, because one of my customers does that. And we're having a conversation then about, actually, yeah, it might be, because there might be some symbiotic relationship there. And it's a case of, perfect, if you guys do well, then so will we. You'll want to keep us around because, one, we do a good job, and two, we're looking out for everybody because, well, you've shown me that you respect what we do, and you've bought into what we do, so let's help you. Let's get behind you. Let's really understand what it is you do, and let's see you achieve your goals as well. It's that kind of thing. Did I answer your question? I feel like I kind of went off on one there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's some really good insights there as well. So my last question relating to you and the journey and Code 56 is, you've mentioned that if we wanted to get to the moon, you guys can help us get there. So I'm expecting a pretty ambitious answer to this one.
Okay.
What are the future plans for Code 56? What have you got lined up? Where do you want to take it?
So the future plans right now are, I want to grow the team. I want to have a team of 5 technicians, so people doing technical work and whatever admin support that needs. And I think those kind of headaches are the kind of headaches that I'll be happy with today. I know by the time we get there that I'm going to want bigger and badder headaches and a bigger and badder team. But the whole point of this is to grow organically. I'm not going to go out there and try and grow and get stretch marks and kind of have to backfill all of that. That's not what I'm in for. I'm in this to find interesting problems and help people solve them and really enable them to be their best. That's what this is all about for me. It's not about making millions and millions. There's people that go out and set up IT companies to do that, and they do very well and in their version of success. But from the technical aspect, that's not what I want to do. I'm much more interested in finding the quirky stuff that's extraordinary and helping them level up and helping them take it to the next level.
As an entrepreneur, there is this sort of pressure to scale up and grow as fast and as quickly as you can. But actually, that's not what it's about. And often you can become too big too quickly and you cause yourself more headaches than it's worth.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I talk about when I talk about stretch marks. If you look at somebody... You put on a bit of weight, you get some stretch marks. It's not great. But you do end up with this situation where, okay, if I wanted to go out and solicit a shitload of investment, right, I'm sure between the three of us, my business partners and I, we could do that. We could go and create a load of money. Then what? Then I've got 20 investors breathing down my neck, wanting their return, because they're not necessarily bought into the core ethos. They're not necessarily bought into the vision. They've been sold, you're going to get 20% return in a year. Well, if I've been sold that, damn it, Ben, I want it. So they've got every right to expect the results. Those aren't the headaches I want. I would much rather have the headaches of trying to spin too many plates and gradually building up a team that've got that expertise and treat IT as a business item instead of a technical item, which is a little bit different to how some of my competitors approach it.
IT, I think, is one of those areas that a lot of business owners struggle with. For me, I know personally over recent experience, it's something that we've been looking into. And there are just so many options and things to consider. Unless you are actively involved in a daily basis, it's totally mind-boggling. So from your experience so far, from working with the one-man bands up to the bigger companies, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see businesses make when it comes to their own IT systems? Okay,
so universally, regardless of what size business you are, the biggest mistake you can make is not involving your technical people or your IT team in some form. So it might be, let's say you're massive and you've got 1,500 staff and you have a full-blown IT department, a director, a head of, manager, levels 1, 2, and 3 and all of that, or you're a one-man band. It's not including people in the thought process that leads to your decision-making process. That's the number one thing where businesses fall down.
So this is expanding on what you mentioned earlier about getting businesses to see that IT is a business decision, not just a technical decision.
Absolutely. So the structural engineers I mentioned before, one of their directors put it to me in a loving way, technology is only going to get worse. That's why he employs us. Because if we're looking after it, he knows that it's not a problem that he has to worry about. And it's that kind of mentality of going, actually, I need this thing, this technology, whether it's pen and paper, a laptop, a tablet, the sexiest new toy that comes out, whatever it happens to be, you need this to get your job done. Or do I actually need this to get my job done? What are the options? I'm thinking about expanding the business. Maybe you've gone out there and you do want the headaches of 20 investors who want 20% return. And you go out there and you get £250,000 and now you've got a business that you need to scale up like that, right? What are the technical options open to you? If you don't know, you don't know. You can make your own assumptions, very much like with accounts, for example. After I've sold a house, it's too late to talk to my accountant about the options we got when I'm selling my house or the tax efficiency of things. We need to have those conversations beforehand that might not pan out. Sometimes the problem is a business gets somebody like an IT manager who's much more focused on the day-to-day nuts and bolts, who they don't feel comfortable having that conversation to say, look, Mr. IT manager or Mrs. IT manager, we're thinking about growing the business, or we're thinking about buying out a branch, or we're thinking about doing this, or maybe we're thinking about scaling down. Don't tell anybody. And it might be because they've not got the business head. They're there to solve the technical problems. The business doesn't reach out to them to say, oh, hey, look, if we were going to do this, what would our options be? Can you just pull something together for us so we know 100% this is what we can do and this is why, so you can make an informed decision? That would be the number one thing I'd say is that I've seen.
Typically, when it does come to IT, you're absolutely right. You want to think about including them in the board meetings, discussing growth and plans. And like you say, it's viewing that side of the business as not just a necessary evil, for want of a better word.
No, you're absolutely right.
An enabler and something that is actually going to help drive you to grow the business forwards.
So you're absolutely right. And one of our code is, technology is a force multiplier and it should be handled appropriately. And we mean that by if you spent £1,000 in marketing, you'd want a return on that. If you spend £1,000 on tech, it should damn well deliver you something. And it should hopefully be more than a one-to-one. A new laptop enables you to get work done faster, more efficiently, quicker. A new software package might help you streamline your process. It might help shave 5 minutes of your day off every single day. Well, suddenly over a week, that's nearly half an hour every week. What could you do with that time? Where can we put it? Or maybe it's less errors. Maybe it's better consistency, so that when Deborah makes a quote, it's the same as when Neil makes a quote. It looks the same. It feels the same. It's repeatable. Comes back to the E-myth again, systemizing.
So what are some of the questions that business owners should be asking of their own IT teams to help them get the most out of their own system and infrastructure?
I'm not sure it's so much questions as more just involve them in the conversation. So like you mentioned, board meetings or just side conversations, because maybe your business isn't super formal and you don't have quarterly board meetings. That's okay. If that works for your business, go for it. If you want to have monthly board meetings, do it. If it's delivering value for you, great. But it's involving the right people in that conversation, just to say, hey, look, this is what we want to achieve. This is our goal. This is our dream. Draw out the future and say, this is what we want to achieve. So much like, I want 5 tech people, myself probably included in that 5, but okay, what do I need to put in place to get to that? I need to do some marketing. I need to do some sales. I need to do some delivery. What am I going to need tool-wise to make that happen? Okay, I'm going to need this tech. I'm going to need that tech. Actually, when we get to that size, we really need to automate invoicing and things like that. It needs to be simple. It needs to be quick. It needs to be easy. It needs to be repeatable. It's that kind of, let's try and break down some of that barrier of going, oh no, this is my business. It's closed off. I put a wall around it. These are my dreams and my aspirations. You wouldn't get it because you're just the tech guy. And if they are just a tech person, then that's okay. Try and get somebody else that you can bounce those ideas around. Or maybe even just try engaging them at that level to say, hey, look, what do you think about doing this? Because ultimately, good techies are problem solvers. If you come to us with a problem like you want to go to the moon, we're going to find a way of doing it. There are some of us that would huff and puff and would say no, which is the whole not saying no thing comes from, as a kind of jab in their eye. But use your problem solvers to the fullest capability.
And what are some of the benefits that a business might experience by working with a business such as Code 56?
I guess the benefits are, one, I'm there, I'm doing it. I'm trying to run a business just like they are. I get some of the headaches, I get some of the challenges. I can have a different level of conversation from day one because I'm walking in, I do this. I understand some of the headaches that you've got just from running a business. Also, the way our team is growing is grassroots, kind of from the ground up. Nice and green, keen for the technology, but also no hard edges or attitude that comes with being shoved in a windowless basement for 6 years to become a level 2. Because IT is just the devil to be danced with. It's the burden, it's the bottom line cost. Whereas the Code 56 team is built out of an ethos of let's make business happen. We're using technology, we're using software, we're trying to find efficiencies. We're always there kind of poking away at how can we help you? It's not just how we answer the phone. It's not just a gimmick. It's a mindset of how can I be helpful right now? So we bring that energy. And genuinely, if you tell me you want to achieve something, it can be the worst thing you do. Because next time I see you, cool, where are we on that? It's almost like a mini mastermind session sometimes where it's like, okay, you tell me a goal that you want to achieve. Right. It's important to you because of why. Okay. How can we help get you there? It might be we can't help firsthand. That's why I build a support network of people who might be able to help around me. We don't do websites. We don't do software development. We don't do marketing. It's important to me to have people sort of on hand, if you like. That I think Mark put it as phone book of people that actually take what they do as serious as we take what we do. It's important for me that we're taken seriously, so we take our customers seriously, and we're always looking to help, even if that's just a recommendation or a referral. It's about the right people for the right job.
Now, 2018, Code 56 and yourself, Owen, was the rising star at Marketing Derby. 2019, you're one of the Small Business 100. On that last point, the Small Business 100, can you tell us a bit more about what it is, the benefits to you as a business and how other businesses can get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. So Small Biz 100 is part of the Small Business Saturday campaign. And if you've not heard of it before, the Small Business Saturday campaign is the first Saturday of December. And it's born out of, Well, it's come over from the States. It's backed by American Express. And the idea is that it's a way for small businesses to challenge this kind of Black Friday crap that's come over the Atlantic, where actually there's hundreds of small businesses on your doorstep where you can be spending your Christmas money. So that's where it came from, a kind of retail background, to help promote some of the retail stores. Here in Derby, we've got a really vibrant small business community. And Vaughn from Essential Print has been a business champion in terms of what she's been doing with the campaign and exposed a lot of more business to business to it as well. So we've kind of taken that and run with it. So the Small Biz 100 are the 100 days before that. So from August 30th this year to December 7th, the Small Business Saturday team based down in London will focus their social media presence on one business every day for those 100 days. And we are one of those 100 this year. What's it doing for our business? Well, it's given us another profile kick. Another, we are here. We're not just playing at this. This is not a game. As much as I say I'm signed up to play a game, we take this seriously. We take ourselves seriously. We take what we do seriously. And it gives us a chance to shout about ourselves. And, that's something that I've been here too long. I've learned to be shy and timid about boasting, if you like. So it gives us an opportunity to make some noise and have a little bit of a fun celebration. So our day is really close to the anniversary of the business trading. So we're going to do like a little birthday celebration, make a whole bunch of noise on social media, and just kind of put some information out there in the public. So we're asking people to ask us anything. And yeah, literally anything goes. Any question you could think of, whether it's tech, whether it's, hey, Owen, what's it like to wear glasses 24/7? Whatever you want to ask me, go for it. And I've got a presentation slot at the Derby Hub on the same day. So I'm going to be videoing that and releasing that as well. And it's a case of sharing the information that we can share to try and help the people that want help. In Derby, we've got an event going on at the Enterprise Centre with the university. We're hoping that there's going to be more than 100 people who can show up and come. There's still some stands available. Check those show notes out for links and come along if you can. It's a free event. I know it's a Saturday and I know it's, quite a sacred day for a lot of business people, especially business community. Saturday is rest day for most of us normal people. I know Ben just always on. You just never stop.
Obviously, goes without saying.
But yeah, come along. It's going to be a celebration of small business and you can meet the vibrant community that we have here in Derby. And I mean, there are some really powerful players and some really inspirational people. Come along, say hello, get to know them, build your network, build your profile, and learn about what's going on in your local area. If you're not in Derby, maybe you're somewhere else in the UK, check it out. See, there's the Small Business Saturday UK website. They've got a small business finder. Check out what's going on in your area. If nothing's going on in your area, get in touch and we'll happily share what we've been doing here in Derby so that you can do something there as well. And definitely check out the Small Business 100 and see if it's something that you guys could get involved in for next year.
Yeah, it's a great cause. So like you said, and I definitely second the fact there are so many great entrepreneurs and business owners out here in Derby that until you get in the mix with it, you don't really realise.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this year, 5 of the 100 are Derby-based businesses. I mean, that's nuts. Like, how's that happened? Clearly there's something in the water.
We've talked about your journey, Owen, towards launching Code 56. We've shared some of your expertise with regards to ITs and systems and the Small Business 100, etc. Now I'd like to talk about Owen, the businessman.
Okay.
Can you give us a bit of a description of what a typical day in the life of Owen looks like?
Manic. At the minute, there is a lot of, spinning plates, making sure things are getting done, trying to grow the business, trying to deliver the business, trying to, make sure that we're delivering the level of service that we want to deliver. We set our bar high because as far as I'm concerned, if you set your bar higher than the customer, then you shouldn't have an unhappy customer. It's about doing the best job that we can. It's about building the team, growing the team, helping in training and development and all that kind of stuff, and carving out a sustainable future for the business. So there's a lot that goes on day to day.
What's been your biggest challenge so far? We've talked about obviously the first 12 months and all those lessons that you had to learn, but if you could look back at your journey from day one, is there anything in particular that stands out?
I think there was definitely a mindset shift from day one to now, and probably again in the next 3 years. We'd probably sit down and have very different conversation. But there's definitely been a mindset shift in that on day one, honestly, I didn't feel like a business owner. Yeah, okay, when we got business cards printed with managing director on it, I felt like I was playing at it. Now, yeah, I feel more confident in that role. And the confidence grows every day. And it is It's learning to accept that it's okay to feel confident at this stuff, and learning to accept that it's okay to say, actually, you know what, I do know my stuff and I am good at this. And my growing team are good at this. We know what we do and we do it well. And it's okay to say stuff like that.
And that's the sort of the imposter syndrome.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Do you still get those moments where the doubts do pop into your head?
No, absolutely not. Of course. And I think anytime you're pushing your comfort zone, anytime you're striving to do better or grow or learn something or, push the envelope, whatever cliche phrase you want to use, whenever you're doing that, those doubts are going to creep in because, well, you've not done it before. Who am I to say that I'm good at this? Somebody's going to find out that, I'm not the world's best techie, but I don't necessarily have to be the world's best techie. I have to be the best at translating it into the business and making sure that our recommendations are right. And yeah, there's a lot to worry about and there's a lot of stress that creeps up and stuff, but it's that continuous evolution. And getting outside your comfort zone is where you're either going to learn because things go well or you're going to learn because actually things didn't go well.
How do you deal with those thoughts when they do pop in every now and again, when you are pushing yourself outside the comfort zone?
Loud music. It's a fair question, and I don't think I've got a savvy answer for you. I think it's a case of just experiencing them. And I think people who know me will know that I ride high and I ride low, and I'm not very good at hiding it. So I know when I'm in a low place, the message that I'm putting out there isn't potentially as bright and cheery as it should be. There's a lot of good stuff going on. The Small Business 100 or whatever happens to be cracking off. There's a lot to be actually really proud about. But I never really give myself time to reflect on that and go, oh shit, yeah, I'm really amazing. Because it feels uppity. It feels disgenuine. So, and my brain flipped. So the Small Business 100, I got that email, right? And I'm reading it. And it's like, congratulations. And I'm like, shit, yeah, I've won. Before I get to the bottom of that email, my mind's already flicked over to, crap, I've got to deliver this now. I've got to make the absolute most of this. Like, my brain's broken. Like, that's exactly what happened. And it is that's the challenge, is kind of learning to go, okay, resiliency isn't just blindly being happy. It's, okay, right now I'm down. Why am I down? What's going on? What's in my control? What's not in my control? What can I do about it? Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. Sometimes you just build shit up in your head that's just, you don't need to. We've all kind of fretted about, I'm going to that sales meeting and, or maybe that thing's not gone right, or we took a lot longer than I'd like us to have to get back to that person about that topic. And then you go and you have a chat and you're like, yeah, I just want to say, like, I think we under-delivered there. And they're like, what are you on about? No, mate, you're replying back quicker than I was ever expecting you to. And it's like, oh, okay, I've done that all myself. So yeah, there's still a learning curve going on there. Like, things might, on the outside, things look really, really good, but you never know what's going on in somebody's head. Yeah,
it's like the old swan analogy. You see the swan gracefully gliding over the water, but underneath the feet are paddling like mad. 100%. And we all go through those peaks and troughs. And so what are some of the things that you do to help pull yourself out of the times when you are feeling a bit down, when things haven't gone quite your way?
It's a work in progress, if I'm completely honest, just because of the way my mind works. I'm constantly focusing on improving and stuff like that. So I can be, if people spoke to me the way I speak to me, I wouldn't hang around them. So there's that kind of challenge to deal with. But it's things like finding other outlets, finding like hobbies, or recently got into to jiu-jitsu, and like I'm all in on that. I mean, I'm only 2 months in. I know nothing. I've got everything to learn, but it's a really cerebral thing, because you learn the techniques and then you have to apply them and not panic and forget everything and get folded up into a little ball. But it's that kind of thing. Whereas for me, like swimming and cycling, they never really worked because, yeah, okay, you can push yourself harder and whatnot, but I always used to find the repetitiveness of it let my brain escape and get thinking about work. And because what we do is so cerebral, there's a lot of thinking that's involved. I mean, some of the most elaborate stuff we've done, you'd look at it and you'd go, it's just a black box with blinking lights. It's like, yeah, but it's all the cool stuff that it does and it enables that took a lot of thinking and took a lot of time and took a lot of headspace. So finding an activity like that helps me just block everything out. So if it's not jiu-jitsu, it's electronics. I mess around with some little Wi-Fi controlled microcontrollers so you can program LEDs to do crazy stuff and like temperature sensors and stuff like that. And it's not something I did at school. So again, there's a lot of learning there. So it's a case of kind of zoning my mind in on that one thing and just letting everything else melt away. Might even be a symptom, of where you get hyper-focused. So like, you sit down and you start doing an activity and then suddenly you're like, oh, I'm a little bit peckish. Oh shit, it's 8 p.m. That might be why.
You've hypnotized yourself.
Yeah. Almost. You just like, that's the only thing that's going on in the moment. And that's how I do it, is to kind of lock my brain on something.
And like you say, it's hard to think about business when somebody's trying to fold you up into a pretzel.
Yeah, absolutely. You're like, oh, I know a leg sweep. Can I get... No. Okay.
What do you think are some of the key beliefs, skills and attributes that people need to have to be successful in business? You've talked about resiliency. Is there anything else that you've picked up on that you see as a common trait?
Well, the first thing I think is people need to understand that success is defined by them. So my version of success will not be the same as somebody else's, and that's absolutely okay. Somebody else in a different stage in their life, maybe they've taken some retirement and they don't need to go out there and earn a full-time wage. So they're going to do a day a week, 2 days a week, whatever. Go for it. If that's your version of success, nail it. So that's step one, is success isn't the same for everybody. If you want to be Warren Buffett, nail it. If you want to be, stay-at-home dad, cool. If that's what you want, define it well and achieve it. And kind of zone in on it and make it happen, and work backwards. So we're talking about draw the future. It's a kind of exercise that I've been doing. And then it's kind of going backwards of like, okay, so this is the house that I want. These are the cars that I want. This is the lifestyle I want. This is the kind of the level of affluence I want. Whatever it is that really tugs at your heartstrings. Maybe it's, actually I want to spend 4 days a week working for charity free. Okay, work that backwards. How do we get you to a position where the one day you're working paid, you're making enough money that you can pay your bills and that you're not sacrificing yourself to then do what you ultimately want to do? And then it's picking the goals out from there and being, I guess the nerd would say, be logical about it. Work backwards and go, cool, that's the headline, that's a headline, that's a headline.
What do you think are some of the misconceptions that people who are not in that position have about being a business owner?
I think people who aren't in it think that all business owners are minted. We all live in mansions. We all drive Ferraris or Porsches. We've all got unlimited sums that we can tap into at any time. Well, I don't. If you do, tell me how you've done it. But no, I think there is that misconception that as a business owner, you must be mint, you must be loaded, and that's not necessarily true. In some facts, actually, they probably don't have as much disposable income as other people because they're leveraging it elsewhere. They're investing it in other things. They're kind of always looking at, well, how can this sum of money work for me and make more money? Or they'll lock it up into assets. So while they might own several properties, they couldn't put their hands on £1,000 to fix a boiler for themselves, kind of thing. It's that sort of thing. It's a slightly different mindset about how you make assets, things, money work for you instead of the other way around.
And what are some of the sacrifices that you've had to make since starting Code 56 to get to the point that you're at now?
Time's a big thing. If you want to push hard, and that's on the path to your version of success, then that's one of the sacrifices you need to make. You're not always going to be able to do the things that you want to do. You're not always going to be able to take the time off that you want to take. I mean, it was 2 years before I felt justified in taking a holiday. And that was a crazy thing. One of my business friends said to me, have you had sleepless nights? And actually I hadn't, because of the weird superpower. I can fall asleep really quickly. It really annoys my wife. She's like, how do you do it? I don't know. But he was like, okay, but have you been stressing about stuff? Have you been worried? Have you had these challenges? Have you put the long hours in? I was like, yes. He was like, well, you deserve a break. Respect yourself. And I guess the sacrifices is time. It's some personal relationships. It really, when you shake that tree, you really find out what's important to you. And I've had a chat with people that have got kids, don't have kids, but I've had a chat with people that do. And it's the same sort of thing. When the first kid comes along, suddenly watching Game of Thrones isn't your top priority anymore. Suddenly going on lavish, expensive holidays doesn't really matter that much because your priorities shift, your priorities change. And I think it's important to make time for those things. And it's something that I've struggled with, because you want to give the business everything and then your personal relationships start to falter. And I can absolutely see how some people will start a business and then in 3 years, they've got no friends, they've got divorced, they're on their own. because they've become consumed by it. And I think if you're in that situation and you're not happy with how things are going, if you want to get divorced, go for it. If that's going to make you happy, fine. If you don't want to get divorced, then realign your priorities and carve time out for the things that are important to you and the people that are important to you.
Yeah, important lessons, most definitely. Again, another common trait with everybody I've spoken to is that they had no idea how time-consuming the business was going to be before they'd actually started it. Even for me doing this podcast, it takes considerably longer than I'd ever imagined, and that's the same for starting a business as well. So a real good lesson, especially one for people who are thinking of getting into business. This is going to take much more time and effort than you are thinking right now.
Yeah, but don't let that put you off.
No, absolutely.
I think you'll find that you will put the time in if it's important to you. And that's the thing. That, define your success, define what's important to you, and stick to them. But don't be afraid to let them change. You might think, right, I'm going to give it 2 years and I'm going to go flat out, and then I'm going to review. Make sure you do review.
If you could visit your 21-year-old self and give him one piece of advice, what would it be?
Have the balls to start it sooner.
So from your time in business, Owen, we've talked about you started Code 56, 2016. It's been 3 or so years since that day. What's been the most important part of your journey so far, do you feel?
I think the most important part has been the kind of learning that it's okay to continuously improve. You're not going to get it perfect. You're not going to be right all the time. You're not going to be wrong all the time. Failure is going to happen. It's going to taste like crap, but you need to knuckle down and get through it. Not everything you try is going to work. It sounds so easy to say and so easy to hear that, failure is going to happen. Yeah, learn from it, move on. It tastes like shit when it happens. I mean, it actually tastes like...
Do you find that the muscle that you need to develop, we've talked about resiliency to get back up when you have been knocked down. Do you think that's a sort of a brain muscle that strengthens the more that you go through it?
I guess. I mean, I don't know if it's an actual muscle or if it's just a skill or whatever it is. But yeah, the more you try stuff and it doesn't work, it's like, okay, cool, that didn't work. It's not because I'm shit at my job. It's not because I'm an utter failure. It's not because I can't make this happen. It's just for the circumstances that didn't work. Now, I've got a personal thing of try and find the silver lining. And that's one of the things, I guess, going back to your earlier question about how do I pick myself up, it is about that. It's about going, right, this situation is not good. It's not positive. It's not brilliant. There's got to be some positive I can take out of it. Even if it's just, you're having the worst week of your life, you've gotten some utterly dire news, something fundamental's going wrong. Well, you're still breathing, you're still here. Okay. So can you, take that kind of, you hear about the 12 steps with the Alcoholics Anonymous and stuff like that. One of their things is, if I can't do a day, I can do an hour. If I can't do an hour, I can do a minute. If I can't do a minute, I can do a second. Find that positive thing and latch onto it, and then advance step by step. And pretty soon you're climbing that mountain again. And it's been a case of learning that that's okay. And it's that continuous learning. It's sat here today. I'm not 100% sure what lesson I don't know that I'm going to learn in the next year, the next 5 years, the next 10 years. But I will be learning lessons. And it's about diving into books. It's about diving into your support network. It's about finding those people around you that have got the experience who you see something inspiring in and trying to be helpful to them, to learn from them. And you'll often find that actually the right people, they're crying out to help. All you've got to do is put yourself in a position where you can ask. And if they see something in you, why wouldn't they want to be around successful people? Talking about reading, the last 3 years just picked up tons of business books, tons of selling books, tons of stuff to kind of push myself out of. I mean, hell, I read Business Accounting for Dummies cover to cover. I'm just really glad I'm not a manufacturer because that gets way complicated. But it is about going, right, okay, what do I need to learn? What don't I know? Not what do I know? Because you've got your technical skill, whatever it is. When I say technical, I don't necessarily mean IT. I mean, you could have technical skill as an accountant. You could have technical skill as a lawyer or a fabricator or something like that. You've got that on lockdown. You know that. You're in a position right now where you're thinking about setting up a business or you're going to take that leap. You've got that. What don't you know? And don't let it blindside you.
Yeah, there's a phrase I heard a long time ago that's always resonated with me, that when it's come to learning, and I can't remember who it was that was talking about it, but they said when it comes to books and learning new things, you should always consider just in time rather than just in case. So it's always better to pick up a book that's relevant to your current situation and learn more about that now,
Yeah.
rather than read a book that you think may come into use, next year or a couple of years down the line.
I think that's fair, and I think you're more motivated to read the book and actually act on it as well, because it's all well and good reading the E-Myth, but if you just read it and put it down and then don't do anything with it, why have you wasted your time reading it?
Absolutely. And if you had to pick one book from all of those that you've read so far, which one would it be?
If you're not going to read the E-Myth, I'd say pick up Timpson's Keys to Success. 50 Keys to Success. You don't need to pick up any of his other books, basically. I read them out of order and found myself frustrated with one of his earlier books because it just kind of duplicated it.
Timpson's is the key guy.
Yeah. And they do dry cleaning, and they do all sorts of stuff. They're in like all the supermarkets. They're building like outdoor kiosks at supermarkets now as well. Great business brains there. And again, willing to give the footsteps to success away. I know you said, success leaves footprints, and that's how it's done. It's through those books, through that learning. And yeah, okay, sometimes the book's going to go on about their individual success that won't apply to you. Yeah. I don't think I'm ever going to buy out Timpson's. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see that on the cards for me now. Maybe life will change, who knows. But there are some key points in that. And the way that book's written, it's actually quite easy to get through because they are, one tip, one page kind of thing. So yeah, either of those two books.
Yeah, there's been a few people that have mentioned to me about Timpson and reading about their journey. So it's definitely one that's on my list of...
Get them both, read them by the pool. That's what I do. I get a bunch of business books. Winds my wife up no end because she loves like fantasy novels and stuff like that. And so she'll take like a whole bunch of little trashy novels and stuff like that, fun books as she calls them, and I take my boring books, but I just devour them. Just give yourself some space. Just go through and make notes in the book. Fold the pages over, highlight it if it's on your Kindle.
That's when you know it's a good book, don't you? When it's got marks all over.
Yeah, absolutely. And borrow it from other business people because it's amazing to see where they've put little stars and stuff like that. Like, if you really respect the person that's lended you the book and you see that they've made a note, well, shit, I'm going to remember that. But also on your Kindle, you can highlight stuff, you can make notes, but make sure you spend some time going back over those notes so that they're not just in time and lost there.
And my final question for you, Owen, if any of the audience want to find out more about you or the team at Code 56, where can we find you?
Cool. So we've got a website, www.code56.co.uk. It'll be in the show notes, I'm sure. You're probably driving right now and you're like, yeah, I'm not going to remember that. We're on Facebook, trying to do more on Facebook. So find us there. I think it's code_56. We're on Twitter quite a lot. I like to play with people on Twitter and have a bit of fun. So you'll see an awful lot of GIFs and stuff like that. We just poke fun on Twitter because it's so ephemeral. It's like 3 minutes a tweet or whatever. I really enjoy interacting with people on there. I'm on LinkedIn. Again, check the show notes out because I can't remember what my link is. And yeah, more than happy to have a chat. Always happy to have a chat. If people want to get in touch, whichever method's best for them, drop me a message. And
as Owen says, all of those links will be included in the show notes. So if you want to check him out and the guys at Code 56 there, make sure you head over. It's benjaminbrain.co.uk/Owen-Conti. Owen, that wraps up the interview for today. Thoroughly enjoyed having a real good business conversation with you. I've learned a lot myself, and there's definitely been a lot of real nuggets and insights that I think people will appreciate there. So thank you so much for spending the time with us. Thank you for being a guest on the podcast.
Yeah, cheers for having me. Really appreciate it.
I want to wish you and the team at Code 56 all the best for the future. Definitely one that we're going to be looking out for. Looking forward to seeing what you guys do with your Small Business 100. So make sure you check out Owen and the rest of the businesses that are involved in that. And to everybody that's listened, thank you very much. I look forward to catching up with you on next week's episode of The Truth About Business. One final thing before you go. If you enjoyed this interview and want to make sure you don't miss out on the next episode with another real-life business champion, make sure you subscribe via iTunes, Spotify, your favourite podcast app, or by visiting my blog at benjaminbrain.co.uk and hitting subscribe. At the blog, you'll also find the show notes to this episode, which includes all the relevant links to the website, social media channels, contact details, and anything else that was discussed in the episode. Just type in the name of the guest, and that will bring that right up for you. And finally, I'm always on the search for great business owners who would be happy to spare just a couple of hours of the time to share their business experience with our audience. So if you know of anyone that would make a great guest, or you'd like to feature yourself, just let me know. Send an email to hello@benjaminbrain.co.uk and I'll reply personally as soon as possible. Also, if you've got any feedback, questions that you'd like me to ask our guests, or any other suggestions, I am definitely all ears. That email address again is hello@benjaminbrain.co.uk. So that's it for this episode. I just want to thank you sincerely for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay hungry, stay fearless, get out there and make it happen.